Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome to today's IG Live. I'm excited to be joined by our guest, Ruby Dhal. We just had an excellent conversation on the Let's Talk Love podcast about Ruby's new book. It's called The Path to Self-Love. And one of the underlying messages around this whole discussion we had was how self-love is so misunderstood. And it's all about doing things in your life that make you feel good. And we talked a lot about the difference between easy self-love and tough self-love. So I'm excited to be joined by Ruby. She has over 1 million followers across her social media platforms. And she does a lot of discussion and sharing around self-love practices that she's gone through in her own life and how she has transformed her own life and her healing by practicing tough self-love. She's happily married now. She has good relationships with her family and close friends around her. So I'm excited to be joined with her for the next half an hour. If you've got questions for Ruby, can you please put them in the chat? Let me know where you are joining in from today. Ruby's going to be joining us from London, England. I've never been to London. One day I'm going to go. But for now, we're going to enjoy living vicariously through her from London, UK. And happy July 4th for those of you that are joining us from the United States. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Ruby before she joins the chat. So after experiencing her mother's death at age of 4, she battled with various negative emotions and growing up, she turned to books as a form of escapism. So she's written 5 books, and this is her newest book, The Path to Self-Love. She attended UCL, University College of London, and she has her master's degree in philosophy. Her interest in philosophical ideas and concepts furthered her dream of becoming a novelist and incorporating what she'd learned in university and her storytelling. So I'm going to have her join the chat. And we've received some excellent questions from our community, so we'll go through those. Hi, Ruby. Welcome to the IG Live.
Hi, I'm trying to sort out my headphones, but I don't think they're gonna work. So I'm just gonna join you like this.
Actually, I heard you better. I think they were working.
Sorry, I think they're working now. What did you say?
They're working.
Oh, perfect. Hi. How are you?
Oh, so well. Thank you for your time today, Ruby. I've had so much fun talking to you on the podcast, and now we've got 30 minutes to go through all these questions from our community.
Me too. Firstly, I want to take these off because I can see without them. How are you doing? It's so nice to say hello to your community, and I've had such a wonderful time on your podcast, and I'm so excited to get into this as well.
Oh,
So
me
yeah.
too. So let's dive in. I was just telling everybody before you joined the IG around your book does an excellent job of talking about the difference between easy love and tough love. I thought we would start this before let's just go through what that means and how important tough love
Yeah,
is for self-love.
absolutely. So easy self-love, I describe it in the book as all the stuff that we can easily recognize as self-love. So it doesn't necessarily have to be easy to do, but it's usually stuff that elicits feelings of positivity and joy straight away. Most of these, if not all, are self-care activities. So easy self-love is, say, going to the gym, going for a walk, doing yoga, meditation, seeing your friend for a coffee, catching up with your mum, all the things that you do with the intention to improve your mental, emotional, and physical health. And then compared to that, tough self-love is the stuff that's really hard to do and it's not easily recognizable as self-love. So when you see that stuff, you don't think, oh yeah, this is self-love. So it's stuff like having difficult conversations about your past, admitting that you've got a drinking problem or a drug abuse problem, which is very, very hard to do. getting closure, giving closure, even apologizing, getting therapy, anything that you do in the moment, it doesn't really elicit positive feelings, nor does it make you feel good about yourself. But in the long run, it's for your betterment, essentially. So say that, comparison of easy and tough self-love. Say you've had a very long day at work. You're going to see your best friend afterwards. You instantly feel better because you know you're going to see your best friend and you are going to be able to unwind. You're going to be able to relax, have a drink, and just, let your hair down, essentially. So you're looking forward to that, and that's going to elicit positive feelings. However, say that after having a long day at work, you now have therapy, essentially. You're not going to feel the positive emotions. Essentially, it will probably make you feel worse. You'll probably feel really bugged down, sad after you leave a therapy session. But in the long run, that therapy is truly going to help you heal from your past trauma and just feel better about your situation. And so that's how I distinguish between the two.
Excellent. Somebody in the chat is saying how much they loved your book, Ruby, and I'm holding this up. It's called The Path to Self-Love. Somebody was asking about the name. So
thank you so much. Yeah, it's called The Path to Self-Love. You can find it everywhere online and in store as well, which is my biggest dream come true, by the way, Robin.
Absolutely, having your book on the shelves is fantastic. So
it's
one of the
unbelievable.
questions that came through the community is, how can I trust myself more?
How can I trust myself more? I think the biggest way to understand that would be to think, do you trust the people around you? How I see it is our relationship with ourselves is comparable to the relationship that we have with the people around us. If you can form some sort of trust with, say, your partner or your best friend or your mum or your dad, you really need to look at the foundation of that trust. How did that trust get built? Is it because they have taken care of you? They've been your, sole provider since you were little? They have maintained that bond with you? What is it that is the basis of that trust? And then turn it to yourself. Okay. So for me, trust is all about being able to rely on people. So when I trust someone, I have faith that I can turn to them if I need them, and I know that my secrets are safe with them. So in me building trust with myself would be me asking myself, can I rely on myself? Can I be there for myself?
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer to that is no, then you sit down and you say, okay, so why can I not rely on myself? What have I done in the past that I think that I'm unreliable, I can't be trusted? Has something happened? It's all about unpicking all these various different experiences and emotions to understand that if you are struggling to trust yourself, it could be that something has happened. It's in the past now. You need to move on. And you need to give yourself a second chance, essentially, just like you would anyone, who you're in a relationship with, whether it's a friend or a family. It's about trying to take the baby steps to relying on yourself and to making sure that you're not going to purposely let yourself down, because that's what self-love is about. It's about being there for yourself.
Excellent. What are some practical ways to incorporate self-love into my daily routine as a busy mom?
Oh, okay. So one way that I would say is try and do journaling. And I know that when people hear journaling, they think, oh my God, I don't have time to write down, or what do you mean? Like, what am I supposed to write? What I'm grateful for? Affirmations? Like, what is it? How I see it is my Instagram is my journal. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I write so much about feelings and emotions and so on. Everything that I write about online is something that I've either felt or experienced or witnessed. Essentially, it's writing to a friend. Journal as though you're writing to a friend. When you catch up with a friend, you tell them, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? Okay, yeah. So you know what? I've gone through this and I'm feeling like this. And that's what journaling is. And the biggest gift is you don't need to write it. Okay, you can record it. You can get your recorder out on your phone and you can just recite it to yourself. Another way of, practicing self-love, if it was the easy self-care stuff, I would say try and make space for a walk. Try and make time for a walk. In between dropping your kids off to school, listen to a health and positivity podcast. Listen to the kind of music that makes you feel good. Try and make some time for reading. And then if it's the hard self-love stuff, you wouldn't be able to incorporate it every single day in your life, unfortunately. But at least once a week, try and reflect on how you're feeling. if you're grieving, if you're going through something, join counseling, join a group, whatever it is that you're going through in your personal life that you need to practice tough self-love for, try and make time for that at least once a week. And then every day, do the self-care activities, do the easy, tough self-love stuff that's going to make you feel happier and more positive in the
Yeah.
moment.
Excellent. Can you offer some simple steps for building self-love and acceptance? And I think we just talked a lot about the easy things, right?
Yeah. Sorry, can you think of some steps,
Simple
simple
steps
steps,
for building self-love and acceptance.
some simple steps?
Accepting your, yeah.
Okay, so can you think of some simple steps for building self-love and acceptance? I think one would be to be more compassionate with yourself,
Yeah.
to treat yourself with the kind of compassion and kindness that you would others. Um, the thing is, self-love is not simple, unfortunately. And
No,
so I can't
it's
think of
not.
simple steps, but I can think of self-care activities that can help you feel better, but essentially to practice self-love in a way that is all-encompassing and the most impactful thing that can happen to you, it will have to be baby steps to the hard stuff. So baby steps could be today accepting that you have struggled with low self-esteem. Tomorrow, sitting down with your thoughts and thinking about the various experiences that you may have had that have led to the self-esteem. The day after that, trying to see whether you can have a conversation with the people who made you feel this way, or whether you can give yourself closure. Day 4, practicing validating your, so it would have to be baby steps to doing the stuff that's going to help you in a huge way. But simple steps to self-love is a lot harder.
I agree with you. And Ruby, we talked about in your book, you share stories around, for instance, body issues, which a lot
Yeah.
of us struggle with. And how where those, when you were growing up, other people in your life, your family members, would make comments that really hurt and really
Yeah.
stuck, right? And here you are as an adult and still living with body issues, which I think is
Yeah.
so common with us, right? So for
Absolutely.
instance, what would be some, like, building your acceptance around your body, right? It doesn't happen overnight. It's not a switch. And that affliction of having these negative self things going on about our bodies could be with us for the rest of our lives, knowing that too.
And I think the biggest thing with absolutely, Robin, and I think the biggest thing with self-acceptance is the fact that when you're accepting yourself, it's not that you're saying, for me to accept myself is for me to love myself wholly, to love all of me. That's not what self-acceptance is. Self-acceptance is, okay, I have these issues, I have these concerns, I have these insecurities. Sometimes I feel happy with my body, sometimes I don't feel happy. I accept all of this, just like I would accept my imperfect brother and my imperfect mom. And everyone is imperfect. Just as I would love and accept them, I am worthy of love and acceptance in the same way. And just knowing that you are, perfectly imperfect, and you have good days and you have bad days, and taking that forward with you, it relieves the pressure, and it just kind of relieves you from that baggage that you carry, that you need to be perfect. And to accept yourself means you need to love yourself wholly, essentially.
Right. We just talked about this in the podcast, is that
Yeah.
we have this idea that we aspire to love ourselves unconditionally. Can you talk about that, Ruby, and how
Yeah.
it's like that's probably not going to happen?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Self-love is not unconditional love. And I think we have been pushed towards this mindset quite a lot in the recent years as well, because there's this particular dialogue that goes along the lines of, until I don't love me, I can't let anyone in, I can't get into a relationship, I can't do X, Y, and Z. Until I don't love me, I can't be successful, I can't be. And that means you're treating self-love as an end goal, that until you don't reach this point of love, unconditional love towards yourself, you can't do X, Y, and Z. That's not the case, okay? Because with self-love, some days there are good days, some days there are bad days. And the biggest thing about self-love is that it is not unconditional, okay? So just as you have a relationship with your parents and your siblings and your partner, you love them, but you do have expectations from them. Imagine, you having a parent who always lets you down, okay? Or you having a partner who always treats you badly. How long are you going to continue loving them until you get to that point where you're like, okay, I am in pain, or okay, this love that I'm feeling, it's getting weathered with all these inconsistencies and the gaslighting, the way they're treating me. Over time, that love would diminish and that love would fade, because love is not unconditional. Okay, in the same way, self-love is not unconditional. You cannot love yourself and then say, I have no expectations from myself. I love myself, but I can keep letting myself down. I love myself, but I can be harmful towards myself. No, because we feel bad when we harm ourselves. We feel bad when we do something that damages our self-esteem, or something that is at odds with the goals that we have for our life. Say that I've got a particular health condition for which I need to lose weight. Okay, I say I love myself, so I'm going to aim towards that because I want to be healthy. I want to deal with this health condition. Now imagine if I have a bad day. Bad days are completely normal, Robin, completely normal. Have a bad day and I binge eat a bar of chocolate, I will feel bad. Now, if I had unconditional love for myself, I wouldn't feel bad, right? I wouldn't feel bad because I feel unconditional. I can let myself down, but that's not the case. And so it's okay to feel let down. It's okay to have a bad day, because self-love is not having no expectations, from yourself, essentially.
I think that's just so well said, and like awesome reminder.
Thank you.
So, what are some ways to recognize and challenge negative self-talk?
Some ways to recognize and challenge negative self-talk. Well,
you talk a lot about this on your page and in your book, like just around. I'm a very critical person of myself. I am like, it's like I like, that was one of my New Year's resolutions. Is like, Robin, you have to be more. You have to recognize the words you're saying inside of yourself, so that you can talk to yourself with more care and love.
I think I do too. I do too. My sister-in-law is always correcting me when I'm talking about how I look. So because of my self-esteem with my body, I usually say, "Oh my God, this doesn't look good on me." And then she just like looks at me. She goes, "Ruby, calm down. You're being negative. You're being critical of yourself, and you need to take a step back." So I think one way in which to recognize it is the people around you who can reflect and mirror your thoughts. But
Yes.
another way to recognize it is if you're instantly feeling bad after you've talked to yourself in a certain way. So if you have, say you had a bad day. I woke up and I was late for work. Oh my God, I'm always late for work. How can I do this to myself? I'm just unreliable. And then I'm feeling bad. Wait a second. Take a step back. You're late for work. It's okay. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean you're a horrible person. It doesn't mean that, you're not reliable. And so it's all about, like, if you're instantly feeling negative after you speak to yourself, and that's how you recognize whether someone is good for you or not. So like, you're in a friendship and someone said something to you, your emotions after they say something bad to you, like say they gaslight you or they make you feel bad about the way that you look or what you've just said or your opinions, if you feel bad, that's an indicator that, okay, something's wrong here. And so our emotions are the biggest way and the biggest form for us to recognize whether something is right or not, like our gut feeling and the vibe that we get. And so if we are feeling negative, we're channeling in negative emotions because certain things have happened, it's because of the story that we tell ourselves when those things happen. It's all about the narrative in our head. And so it's very important to understand that narrative and to look at your emotions, reflect, and be like, okay, I've been feeling bad all day. Why is it? Okay, this happened. But that wasn't that bad. It's because I spoke to myself that way. It's because I kept telling myself that story. And then the way to deal with it is to change the narrative. Okay, you've had a bad day, you've had a bad morning. It doesn't mean it's a bad life. It doesn't mean that everything's going to get ruined. And we're all victims of this. Like, we're all victims of speaking to ourselves with that negative story, with that negative mindset. And so even with me, on days when I'm like, oh my God, you don't look great. And I'm like, no, Ruby, no, I look great. I look great. I'm feeling myself. It's all good. Stop it. And you just have to talk to yourself and be like, stop. It's fine. Everything's okay. It's just a moment of me being critical, because that's just how I'm attuned to treating myself.
Yes, it's changing the narrative. Really like that.
Absolutely. Changing the narrative.
Okay, this is great. This question, I think, relates really well to what you wrote in your book too, around social media.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any advice for stopping the comparison cycle? I am constantly comparing myself to others, and it's negatively affecting my self-worth. You have some really good tools in your book around this too.
Absolutely. So I would definitely recommend to this person to check out that chapter on social media in the book, which is filled with so many tools and so much good stuff. The biggest thing I would say is as long as social media exists, there will be a comparison issue.
For sure.
We are human beings. We are critical of ourselves. We compare our lows to other people's highs. When someone around you who's not your immediate family, okay, someone a bit distant around you is successful, you're happy for them, but there's always this tinge of, oh, like I want to be that successful. I want something good happening to me. Like you always have this little ting of, I don't know what it is, but it's just human beings in general. We're very, very critical of ourselves. So comparison's always going to be there. How do you tackle it? One way in which you can do it is you think about the kind of platforms and the kind of social media pages that you're following. If there's a particular page that makes you feel bad about yourself, every single time you come across it, unfollow them. If they're not adding anything to your life, if they're not contributing to your sustenance, to you having a nourishing life, unfollow them. Another way to deal with it. Whenever you come across something and it makes you compare yourself to them, say that someone got a new car. Do you want that car? If yes, can you get that car? Can you work towards getting that car? If yes, forget the car that they have, work towards your own car. Secondly, they have a car. Do you want that car? No. Okay, so why are you feeling bad that they got that car? Okay, so there's this problem that when I was younger, people used to get things and I never got them. So reflect. Reflect why you feel bad when you come across people being successful or having the things that you don't want or you do want. And it's all about trying to understand why you feel bad about certain things. Remove yourself from the social media places that make you feel bad. So the pages that you follow, be very mindful about the kind of pages that you follow. Use pages and people and influencers and all these different platforms to motivate yourself. If someone's not motivating you and they're not your relative and they're not your friend, you don't need them on your social media. And then if they are a friend, if they are a relative and they're doing something and it's making you feel bad, you really need to sit down and reflect, why is it that I'm feeling this way? Because it's not a them problem, it's definitely something that's internal, essentially.
Yes.
And we all compare. Like, don't be
We
so hard on yourself.
we do. The other thing I think about around social media and just life in general is that everybody has major problems. And it's not,
We're all messed up.
and like depending on what season you're in, maybe things are rocking in your relationship, but work is kind of just not going great. Or,
Yeah.
you've got a child that's sick, and or a parent that's dying. I mean, for example, but everything, this side of your life is going great. I just think we need to be way more like see the reality of life and situations. Social media is giving all the glossy pictures and like everybody showing the happy. Trust me, those people have stuff. We all do.
We all have stuff. And that's one thing that I also talk about in the social media chapter, where I mention how we only share our highs. It's very rare that we share our lows online. We are part of the problem, because I feel like when people do share the lows, when we don't really create a very safe space for them to be able to share their lows. So when someone is essentially posting a photo of them being really, really happy, you're like, oh yes, Sharon, I'm so happy for you. You've done this. If the same person was to post a photo of them crying, you'd actually feel secondhand embarrassment. Why? They're crying, they want some help, maybe they don't have a safe space around them, they're seeking their online community to help them. You should create that safe environment, but we don't feel safe online. We feel like we need to paint this picture of all of us succeeding and excelling. And that's another reason why when this book released, I was being very honest, like even now after it's been released and stuff, I'm being very honest about the process. I don't share it too much on Instagram, but on my threads I'm very honest about how I'm feeling about the book, the anxiety, the the expectations, the low points, what's happening, because one thing that we don't talk about as authors is the low that happens after you release a new book. It's with any project, when you're just like working towards something, and then suddenly it happens, then you're like, okay, what now? Like, what's happening with my life? I was dedicated towards this. Now that this project is over, I've got nothing to look forward to. And so you feel that emptiness. And I think we are so quick to share our celebrations and achievements and talk about all the good stuff, that we don't talk about the real raw human emotions that come with the good stuff, because it's not easy to get to that success, or to get to that achievement isn't easy, but also the anxiety, nervousness, everything, all the negative emotions that come with an achievement is also, it's very real, but we don't share it. Same thing as you said with the child. You could be going through a heartbreak or a divorce, and you can come online and see someone from high school who's in Barbados with her husband and her kid, and you're just like, oh my god, she looks so happy, she looks like she's got the perfect life, and I'm going through this, and I'm going through a heartbreak, and instantly you feel so low. But the person who posted that photo has not shared the 2 a.m. feeds, hasn't shared the fact that right before they took that photo, her and her husband were fighting over who's going to stay up tonight. She hasn't shared,
Right.
that she's got postnatal depression. And so there's so many things that we all paint a picture when we go online. It's so important to be careful on social media and just create a safe space for everyone, but also know when to switch off, when to just be like, I'm done. This is no longer for me. I've been scrolling and scrolling mindlessly, and I've been feeling worse and worse about myself, and I need to now step away. Step away. It's not going anywhere.
Right. It's not. We also talked about, and you talk about this in your book too, around people pleasing. And when you're
Yeah.
looking outside yourself too much, like, I think I definitely have done that in my life. Have this people pleasing thing that I'm definitely working past.
Yeah,
But that in itself, the comparison that's just you're looking outside yourself, right?
absolutely. And I think the biggest gift that you can take away from the people pleasing problem is that you will never be able to please everybody. Someone will always be disappointed in you. And so take that as a gift and be like, okay, if someone is going to be disappointed in me, at least one person, and I can't please everyone, then I'll just please myself. That's it.
Right.
And I'll, be good to the people around me who love me, who care about me, my safe space. But other than that, I won't live my life to please others because that is exhausting, Robin. That is exhausting.
It
Yeah.
absolutely is. What are some ways to communicate my needs to friends and family without feeling guilty? Like having these hard conversations, talk about tough love.
Yeah. So boundary setting is a huge form of hard, tough self-love. And I talk about it a lot in the book as well, where it doesn't have to be confrontational. So when you set a
Mm-hmm.
boundary, say you're trying to have a difficult conversation with a friend because she keeps making you feel, or they keep making you feel um, bad about going out with your other friends, say, okay? Instead of confronting that friend directly and being like, you keep making me feel bad about going out with our other friends, and I don't appreciate it, and so on, a very confrontational, a very subtle way of setting that boundary is just in the way that you talk to them. Instead of saying that I feel, you're making me feel like this way, just be like, okay, I'm going out with the others. If you want to come along, it would be great. It would mean a lot, but if you don't come, it's okay. Like, you can come next time. I'm going to go out with them because I'm quite happy to spend time with them. And that's your boundary set. Like, they will no longer have the expectation that you should always take them with you. And it's just a subtle way of letting them know that I'm okay without you. Like, I'm okay with going out with these people, and you need to stop making me feel bad. There's another way where I mention it in the book as well, where say someone always borrows money from you. And say you're going out. Every time you go out, your friend says, oh, I don't have money to pay for dinner. Oh, I don't have money again to pay for coffee. And you keep finding yourself paying for them, right? Instead of approaching them and being like, hey, listen, I've noticed that you never seem to have money when we go out to dinner or when we go for a coffee, but you seem to have money for that new bag or those acrylics or whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is, your holiday. Instead of confronting them in that way, you can just easily set a boundary in a way where next time they say, oh, I don't have money, you know what? I don't either. I'm quite broke. Why don't we go for a walk? Do you want to go for a walk? We can go for a walk. If not, I can meet you next time. I can meet you in the future. Whenever you do have money, just let me know when you have, enough cash to spend for a coffee or a dinner, or you could come over to mine and we could do that. Otherwise, we could talk on the phone. That's you setting their boundary. You're no longer going to pay for them. You're no longer going to buy them dinner. You're no longer going to pay them, because this friend could be great to you in other ways. This friend could be a good friend who's always there when you're having a tough time, who always makes you laugh. But the money problem is bothering you. The money problem is affecting how you feel about them. And so a subtle way of maintaining the friendship, but also dealing with the money problem, is setting a boundary. And so I think, yeah, when you find it difficult to when you find it difficult to have these hard conversations about how someone has made you feel, sometimes boundaries have to be confrontational. You have to just be like, look, this is my boundary. You're crossing it. I can't accept it. But sometimes they can be subtle. And I think it depends, Robin, on whether you want to save the relationship or not. If you value this person and they're in your safe space, and you think me being confrontational or me telling them how I feel may go in a different direction, then try and think of subtler ways to set that boundary. If you think, you know what, I've had enough of this person, I don't really want them in my life, confront them, set the boundary, and move on.
Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of something you talk about in your book around how your aunt was
Yeah.
constantly talking to
Yeah.
you about your weight, right?
Yeah.
And it's a
Yeah.
generational thing too.
Yeah.
I like, just, I get
Yeah. It's a
it.
generational thing. Yeah.
Okay, so this is somebody that is related to you.
Yeah.
You're going to be seeing this person. How would you approach that? Let's just say that she made a comment, like you in your adult years, and right, you want to
If,
maintain that relationship.
yeah, if I want to maintain that relationship, if my aunt made a comment about me in this day and age, it depends on the kind of relationship I would have with her. So if it's an aunt who's like a little bit like a friend, you know, someone that's not older, someone that I can joke with. If she was to be like, "You don't look great," I'd be like, "You know what? That top doesn't look too good on you either. It's all right. Like we move on." You know, I'd kind of just in banter say it. If it was someone who is older than me and I can't, and the way that they talk to me really does affect how I'm feeling, I would just tell them honestly. I'd be like, you know, that actually makes me feel really bad. You know, you telling me that, like, I'm actually feeling really bad about myself right now. I would just tell them. I'd be like, I feel really bad about
Yeah.
myself. You've made me, you know, you've made me feel this way about my body and I don't appreciate it. And I would just say it honestly, because at this point, you know, I'm no longer a kid that they can just ignore me, and I'm no longer like, it's not about trying to completely cut the person off, but you should be able to be honest with your family. I think that's the basic thing. If it's someone who is your blood relative, you should be able to be honest with them. What are they going to do? She can't cut me off. I'm her relative. So if I've told her how I feel and she's been offended because she's much older than me, and she's like, how could Ruby say that to me? And well, you know, I am your niece. You can't do anything about it, but I've told you how I feel, so please don't do it again. And if she kept doing it, if it was a case of she kept saying to me, you know, you don't look great today, you don't look great today, then you know, I mentioned it earlier, Robin, I don't struggle with cutting people off anymore.
Right.
It would just be a matter of distancing myself and trying to make sure that any family gathering, I would not be near her. Any
Yes.
family event, I would be away from her. Any whatever, I wouldn't pick up her phone, I wouldn't talk to her, I would just cut off. It's that simple.
And that right there is an example of self-love.
Yeah, that right. And that would be hard to
No,
do. That would be
yes,
very hard to do.
that is not
Yeah.
easy at all, and that was very,
Yeah.
very hard. So, I so appreciate everything that you bring through your writing and the page. Like you've got, like I said, a million people that are following you because you're giving really actionable, but also real, real advice. So, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Robin. It has been such a pleasure talking to you today. You've been so lovely and so wonderful, and I am very grateful that I've been able to share this space with you. So thank you so, so much for giving me and my writing and my book a little bit of space in your world. Thank
I
you.
loved it, and thank you everybody for joining us. Take
Thank you,
care.
everyone.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye.